All right, everybody, welcome back to Mohawk Motors. My name is Jason, and as you can see, and as you just saw, I was able to get down here during the day today and get some more stuff done. I did get the motor and transmission into the CUCV. Using the 6.2 that I put together a while ago. This is an L92 out of a 2008 Escalade. I've put a cam in it, done some other modifications, head studs, new head gasket, etc., etc. I did a whole video on this. I'll try to find it and put a link either up above over here or in the description if you want to go back and watch that. I've got a 4L80 bolted up to it. It's just a stock 4L80 with a stock converter. I didn't go crazy with the cam in this engine. I'm not looking for all the horsepower I can get at 6,000 RPM. I was looking for some more mid-range power, but without losing low-end torque. So I want this truck to be, I'm just going to drive it to shows and stuff. I'm not doing anything crazy with it. So got those bolted together and bolted in. I'm using the Dirty Dingo motor mount adapters that I had used before with the turbo 6-liter. And I'm using a W style cross member from a square body truck. I can't remember what years these W cross members came in, but it's just factory cross member. And I was pleasantly surprised that getting everything in and into position, some of the bolt holes lined up. I had the front hole on the passenger side and the front hole on the driver's side lined up. So I had to do a little bit of reaming just to get those to fit. And it bolted up. I'll still have to drill the holes on each side for the second bolt on each side, but that's not a big deal. I just didn't feel like drilling the holes today. So progress on that. And it kind of inspired me / derailed me to do some tidying up down here. So I got everything swept up, some things put away, some things moved out to scrap, some things just thrown away, but much better in here. Feels way more workable. And that brings me over to the Duramax project. The reason I got to work on the CUCV is because I'm stuck on the Duramax project until I order a steering gearbox and or start taking apart my drivetrain donor. I need the ABS module out of it, or the ABS module and pump out of it. I need the lift pump out of it. Probably some other odds and ends that I'm not thinking of right now. So I wanted to get tidied up, get stuff as far as I can before I start taking that apart. Which brings me to a few other things. You can see here I've got my brake hard lines all mounted on the frame. As far as I can tell, these appear to be, these are what was on the donor truck, the 2003 that donated its frame. And they appear to be like factory coated brake lines, and they're in super good condition. I can't find any rust in them. Like, they're really nice. So I cleaned those up, got them reinstalled. You can see I got my skid plates installed here in the front. Guys, I have zero intention of ever driving this truck on anything rougher than a gravel road. But if you've put a lot of miles on the highway, you've probably known and seen and maybe experienced yourself. Sometimes there is stuff on the highway and you just do not have room to avoid it or get around it or stop before you get to it. And having those skid plates makes me feel a little bit better that if I'm ever in that situation, it's likely to go under, not in. Plus, I think they look nice. So got those on. The fuel system I had shown you before. More little details, all of my little guide brackets for the parking brake cables. I blasted, painted, black oxided the hardware, got that all put on. I got my stainless brake lines built or put up here on the rear axle. A few more little details. I bent up new stainless holders to go over here. And over here, instead of the factory mild steel ones, just makes sense, right? If you're going to have nice stainless steel lines, they should have nice stainless steel brackets to hold them in place. I also, over here, from the factory, this little metal bracket that holds the brake hose bolts right up against the cover. Obviously, I'm using an aftermarket cover, and there's an indentation where the bolts go for a washer. When I took all this apart, there was moisture and grit and stuff trapped in there. It actually seized the stainless steel bolt up so tight that the head broke off. I don't want to go through that again. So I bought some stainless threaded rod that was the correct thread pitch and size. So now I've got a nut holding the cover in place, and I left enough extra on top of that to bolt on my bracket as well. Now I have plenty of space. I'll be able to clean that out. There shouldn't be any stuff getting trapped in there, and it's stainless again. And I like that from behind. It gives me a nice uniform appearance of all stainless hardware holding that differential cover on. I found a cool stainless steel bracket to hold my rear light junction block. Got that bolted on there. And then a few little, the little bed bushings, a few other little odds and ends. And like I said, I can't get any further on it until I order a steering gearbox and start taking the donor truck apart. So, figured I would give you guys an update this evening. I'm going to go get to bed early. And tomorrow, I think we're going to try to get the donor truck pulled in here, start draining the fluids out of it, and start pulling that thing apart. Like I said, I need the lift pump. I want to get the lift pump mounted because I want to be able to integrate the lift pump wiring into the chassis harness. And same for my air compressor. I want to run my wires for the air compressor in the chassis harness. So instead of a bunch of different harnesses running along the frame down here for all my different accessories, I can add them into the factory harness. It'll be clean, it'll be safe, it'll be more pleasing to my eye, and more factory appearing, which is how I like to do this. When I get to that point, I'm going to try to power my lift pump and my air compressor off of the factory fuse panel. I have some ideas of how I think I can do it, so I'm going to try that when we get there. But for now, it's just get the wiring integrated into the factory harness and get the harness on. So, like I said, we got to start getting the donor truck pulled apart. I'll get it in here tomorrow, and we'll get after it. See you then. All right, this is probably the last time this truck moves under its own power. As we're going to start pulling all the parts off of this thing that we need, both to get the chassis finished up, as well as you can see the whole front end is jacked up. These people that I bought the truck from claimed that the front end got messed up from pushing on some things, helping a friend of theirs move. Like, yeah, did you get a running start and push it from 35 miles an hour? Like, I don't know what they did. But fortunately, all of the drivetrain seems super solid. The guy was going, I admittedly should have paid more attention, because the guy was going on and on and on about all the stuff that they have done to this truck, particularly to the engine and drivetrain. He has an edge monitor in it. The engine, I can see just looking, it's got head studs. If I remember correctly, I think he said it had grade C head gaskets in it. It's got a S&B intake. It's got, I think he said it's got like it's got some kind of aftermarket compressor wheel in it. I can't remember what he said it was. I can see in the wastegate line that it's got some kind of restriction or orifice to raise the turbo boost before the wastegate starts to open. So there'll be some stuff to figure out. It's obviously got the lift pump on it. We need to get the lift pump out of it so we can start getting that stuff figured out. But the engine runs great. There's no blow by. It carries awesome oil pressure. And the transmission shifts really nicely. Goes through all the gears, no grinding, no troubles. They were telling me when I bought it that they had taken it down to Florida before this. And when this happened, they really stopped driving it because obviously it was all jacked up. So it's in here now. I got to try to sneak my other chassis back in here. And then this evening, we'll come down and we'll start getting stuff pulled off of this, getting fluids drained, getting the jacked up body parts put in the scrap pile, the bumper obviously. So teardown of donor truck 2 begins. All right, everybody. It's a couple evenings later. I've been down here. More details. But I've made some good progress, and I've started getting the donor truck apart. Figured I'd catch you up because I'm about to go for a long weekend. I'm not going to get down here. And then when I get back, we're going to get this thing pulled apart. Get all the front clip off of it. Get the fluids drained. I already drained the transmission and transfer case. The cab will get lifted up off of it, etc., etc. A lot to do on that. But I'm at a happy stopping point on the new chassis before I leave. So, figured I'd show you. I've got my lift pump installed and all of my plumbing done. Guys, it's been a bit of a project trying to get everything routed, neat, organized in a way that I'm happy with it. Another one of those things, I'm probably the only person, and whoever watches this video, that's going to know that this looks like this. Ideally, I'll never have to mess with it again. And I've put time into it with that in mind. So, lift pump is here, obviously. I've got my suction straw down to the inlet. This is the return for excess fuel. Dumps into the neck, back into the tank. Then this is the feed to the engine, comes over, connects right to the factory feed line. I've got everything secured. You can see I've used some P-clamps over here and over here. Keep things mounted up. Still safe. I've got these secured with a little zip tie crisscross to keep them from rubbing on each other. Another P-clamp down here to keep this hose secure. So everything is, I think everything will be happy this way. I shouldn't have anything rubbing through or chafing. I did add on my return to the tank over here from the engine. I've got a P-clamp stashed down in here, so my braided stainless return line isn't rubbing on anything either. So, I know I'm saying nothing rubbing, nothing rubbing. If you're not familiar with diesels, they vibrate. Duramaxes are relatively smooth compared to other diesels. They definitely don't vibrate like, say, a 12 valve Cummins, but they all vibrate. And if you can imagine these rubber hoses just vibrating just ever so slightly against each other, they'll eventually rub through. And then you add into that equation sand or road grit or whatever else, they rub through faster. I spent a number of years working on industrial diesel, and I'll tell you, one of the biggest issues we had were hoses and lines rubbing through stuff on equipment, on trucks that get run through the quarries and everything else. That dust and that grit gets in there and stuff rubs. And I don't want to have to worry about any of this. And that's why I've taken the time to get it secured. I shouldn't have anything rubbing on each other that's going to cause me any issues. And like I said too, now I've got my pump here so I can factor the harness for the pump into my main chassis harness. I also went ahead and got the ABS pump pulled off of my donor truck. I did a little bit more brush up reading and studying, and the ABS system is separate from the airbag system. So I will be able to run the ABS system from this truck. I'm happy about that because this truck, as rough as this truck looks, it has no trouble lights except for the airbag light, which, looking at the front end, you can probably guess why the airbag light was on. But no brake light, no ABS light, no check engine light, no other trouble lights. So I'm optimistic that using all of the ABS parts and pieces from this truck on this truck, I shouldn't have any issues once I get it all put together. So I think that's it. I did put the front brake lines on as well. Can't remember if I showed you guys that or not, but I'm very happy with it. Everything is neat, everything is tidy. The brake lines also, all in their little mounty holders, none touching each other. Everything run flush and its clips, everything how it should be. Same back here. I've got the little return tee for the lift pump spliced into the filler neck. Very happy with this. More little details that you guys and me are going to be the only ones to see, but it satisfies my need for as good as I can make it really well. So that's probably it for now. I'm going up to get some rest, and when I get back, we'll get this donor truck taken apart, get rid of the stuff we don't need, gather up some more of the stuff we do need, and start getting ready to put things into our new chassis. So I'm back. We had a nice weekend away. It's been a couple evenings since we got back. I've been chipping away at some more details down here in the workshop. Yesterday evening, I was working on the parking brake cables, getting my new parking brake cables installed and hooked up. For the most part, everything factory. The one difference, the one detail that I had to put a little time into, I'm using this Mag high-tech differential cover. I like those. And because of the shape of the cover, you can't use the little factory clip that holds the parking brake cable and holds the brake line. Now, because the brake line is rigid, that isn't really a big deal, but the parking brake cable is obviously flexible, and I didn't want it just flopping around laying on top of the differential back here. The cable will get chafed, it'll rub my paint off. I didn't want that. And they come with this the little provision that the factory bracket would have snapped over and held onto. So I got myself another little brake line holder. It's actually the same little bracket from this one. I just pulled it off of one of my parts trucks and made myself another little stainless stud. Give you a better view there. Another little stainless stud. So I've got a nut with a washer, and then my bracket, and then another nut with a washer, all stainless. And then I've got a stainless steel P-clamp holding the little ferrule, I don't know what else to call it, on the parking brake cable. And that keeps it right where I want it. It's not rubbing against the axle. Everything is secure. I've got it all routed through the factory little brackets there. I even took the time and painted up the little clip. I don't know what else to call this thing, but the little piece that makes it all work back here. So I got all that done. I got my new filters for the lift pump. They came in. I'm just going to run some Fleet Guard filters. So I've got them on, everything hooked up. They're filled with fuel, so when I'm ready, I'll put fuel in the tank. I shouldn't have much trouble getting everything primed and getting fuel up to the engine. I did order a power steering gearbox yesterday. I think I had mentioned before that I was exploring aftermarket options and upgraded options. And then wouldn't you know it, Rock Auto puts a remanufactured Cardone, which is a brand I like as far as remanufactured components. They put remanufactured Cardone steering gearboxes on factory clearance for $75 with no core charge. By the time I added taxes and shipping, it was $105 for a remanufactured with warranty power steering gearbox. So I ordered one. You can't beat that price, quite frankly. And although these tires are a little bit larger than stock, they're not huge. It's not like I'm going and doing crazy off-roading with this thing. This thing's going to be a street queen 99% of the time. So the factory style steering gearbox will be absolutely fine. And like I said, the price, $105 for a brand new remanufactured unit at my door versus $500-ish for an upgraded one that in reality probably isn't going to make much difference at all in my application. You go with the $105 option. So, but that keeps me until that steering gearbox and the new Pitman arm get here. That puts me at a stopping point on the chassis. And really, until I get more of this truck torn apart and get the chassis harness off of it, this harness, until I get this off of here, there's not much more I can do anyway. So I think that means it's time for a teardown montage. All right, everybody, it's Saturday now. My goal for the day is to get the cab lifted up off of the truck and finish getting everything else that I need out to do that. So front fenders need to come off, need to disconnect the clutch, need to disconnect the master cylinder, some wiring, maybe a few other little odds and ends, but I want to get everything ready and get the cab lifted up off of this thing and get a better assessment of what kind of cleaning, repair, maintenance, what other stuff needs to be done to this engine before I can sit it down into my nice chassis. Bare minimum, it's going to need a lot of cleaning. All right, everybody, well, a little while later, as you saw, the cab is up and off. Did find a few nice surprises, did find a few not great surprises, but we'll get it all worked out, right? There's nothing that can't be fixed. The nice surprises, this truck has PPE high flow manifolds and up pipes on it already, as well as an aftermarket downpipe. So that's a nice surprise. The guy may have mentioned that to me when I was picking it up. I honestly don't remember. But we've obviously got some nice little aftermarket goodies there. Not cheap stuff either. I did find a lot of loose bolts and hardware. I'm going to attribute those just to vibration, hopefully. Like I said earlier, diesels vibrate. So hopefully all the loose hardware and stuff that I found, just vibration and nobody keeping on top of getting everything torqued the way it should be. A few small leaks. It looks like I've got maybe an oil weep or leak back here that I'll probably try to figure out. The top of the transmission, I think, is probably just seepage over 200,000+ miles. Not super worried about that. Top of the transfer case is dry, which is good. Gives me confidence that this case has not been destroyed by pump rub. I do have a pump rub repair / prevention kit that I am going to put in that transfer case before I put the whole truck together. I have a support. One of the other common issues with these trucks is the extension housing here gets busted. And in the case of the ZF6, you can see that the extension housing is literally part of the transmission case. So I have a support bracket to help reinforce that and hopefully prevent anything from breaking in the future. And other than that, just a lot of cleaning to do. Whole lot of cleaning. The top half of the engine looks pretty good, to be honest with you. But everything from like the exhaust manifolds down, very oily. So maybe there's some leaks I need to address. Maybe it's just 200,000+ miles of weeps and seeps that have accumulated and it's never been cleaned. We'll get all that stuff taken care of in the next video. I think for this one, I'm calling it. It's a good stopping point. It's a good place to wrap this video up. So that's what I'm going to do. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. And until the next video, take care.